All right, welcome to Off the 11th Hour. I'm your host, Nathaniel Stone, but we all know who the Lord of Hosts is. Say it with me in any dialect you so choose. Yahweh Sabaoth. So excited. Episode 3, I can't believe we're already here. If you haven't seen 1 and 2 yet, I'd suggest to go watch episode 1 and 2 before we get into this, but you know, it's standalone. We can still see that. I am a new channel, and I would really like it if you give a like, if you like the information, right? And also, if you could remember also, you know, I see a lot of people watching the video. That's nice. I don't see a lot of likes or subscribes. Maybe, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? Would you let me know at least, right? It's okay, though. I'm really excited to get this information out. I want to give a disclaimer first. I want to get into the material as quick as possible. If you saw episode 1 and 2, you're probably going to hear this again. I'm sorry, because if someone just watches this episode here, I am going to, I want them to understand exactly what it is that I'm about here. So, I encourage everyone to follow along with any scripture translation that they so choose. I view all scripture translations as gold. So I use the ISR predominantly. But if you have King James or CJB, Complete Jewish Bible, or Tree of Life, or ESV, NIV, what have you, go ahead and follow along with any translation that you have and match that up. And if there's a lot of times what I find when I'm doing research on projects, I use the ISR, but I'll always go back to the King James to kind of match it up to what the King James says. I know that's a pretty popular translation out there. I like ESV, or I'll match it. Sometimes I'll have a parallel of 20 some verses, and then I'll go into the interlinear that's there. As long as we understand that the original inspired writing itself is 24 karat gold, and what we have is lesser quality carats of gold in our English translations. There's just certain stuff that can't get translated over. People make mistakes with translations, but we know what is that verse here real quick. Let me look at while I got it in my mind here. I think it's Proverbs chapter 25, verse 2. It is to the esteem of Elohim, to the glory of God, to conceal things, but to the glory of kings to search things out. So let's search things out, right? Let's look for nuggets of gold. And sometimes if we find something in a translation that might be a little bit off, this is where the kingship comes in place, to where kings will start digging and they'll know that something is there, and then things get set back to the right, and then we gain a higher understanding on matters. The other thing that I'd like to share also is that I'm trying to get this information out to a large spectrum of people within the body. Those that may be brand new into this walk, and those that have been in it for decades. Someone that is completely fluent in Hebrew, someone that only knows English terminology. So to those of you who are mature and can handle this, if I say a word, Jesus, a name, Jesus, and I'm going to give a translation, Yahusha. Some say Yeshua, Yahusha. We can just kind of be mature on matters. We understand he's the only begotten Son of God, the only begotten B'nai Elohim, right? Who died for our sins. And then I just want to be able to reach and get a lot of people to be able to understand and absorb, digest this information, so that they can have it in their spiritual walk. So with that disclaimer, I'd like to move right into where we're at with the teaching here. So if you remember the mark of the beast, we'll do a quick recap here. 100% scriptural proof of spiritual implications. That is a bold claim. Okay, I'm not going to make that claim lightly. So let's quickly look at where we were at. I first shared the positive and the negative aspects of the mark of the beast from Revelation 20 verse 4 and Revelation 14:9, and it's the same characteristics except those who did and those those who did not and those who did worship the beast, his image, receive the mark on the forehead, and receive the mark on the hand, or did not have that. So we see here the positive and the negative aspects that are there. It's the same four characteristics that are there in the first list. Then we covered the Shema, the first and greatest commandment from Mark chapter 12, verses 30 specifically, to where it says that we are to love the Lord our God, Yahuwah our Elohim, with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, with all our leb, our nefesh, our yatzar, and our ma'ad. And we have four characteristics there also. But then we covered that there was a little bit of a discrepancy that was there. Wasn't really a discrepancy, right? This is one of those things with translations that we have you would think, to the layman, to the open eye, someone maybe that was making fun of the scriptures, they could use this information surface level. See, they don't even know what they're talking about in their own book. You know, you have in in Mark chapter 12:30, you have love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then you have in Deuteronomy 6:5, you only have heart, soul, and might. They can't even match things up. And then to make it even more complicated, you have, here it is, Matthew chapter 22, verses 37, where it says that you shall love him with all your heart, soul, and mind. So we have heart, soul, mind, strength, heart, soul, strength, and now we have heart, soul, mind. Interesting. We're missing some stuff, right? A layman, someone that is not educated on these matters, would look at this on the surface and they say, see, the Bible, the scriptures, it doesn't even match up. They can't even get their own story straight. Luke chapter 10, in what would that be? Probably verse 37, it says heart, soul, strength, mind. So, but then we covered that from the abundance of the heart, the mouth does speak. From a good mind, good actions do flow. So even though the Shema, Deuteronomy 6:5, says heart, soul, might, mind is implied. And those are the four characteristics that we have: heart, soul, mind, strength. Then we covered some things about hyperliteralization. That binding them as a sign on your hand and frontlets between your eyes is not this. It's not that, okay? That's a 2,000-year-old plus mistake that is being done. Does not say anything about leather. Where does it say to make a leather strap bound? Where does it say that? Well, they chose leather. Why? Because that's what they made up. Doesn't say anything about make a black cube box on your forehead. No black cube box, cuboidal box anywhere. Made up tradition of man. And then, you know, we covered, you know, some nefarious things about the black cuboidal box. We don't need to get into all that right now. But it's hyperliteralization. So what is this talking about? Deuteronomy 6:8, bind as a sign on your hand. That means that, and bind what as a sign on our hand? Let me try to find it here just real quick. Where was that? Deuteronomy 6:6. That we need to bind. Nope. Excuse me. Here it is. That we need that these words, 6:6, that these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart. These words. So these words are what? Oh, I was there. So these words are what is bound as a sign on our hand. These commandments. That means the works of our hands are bound. The works of our hands are completely bound with these words. And then we have here as frontlets between our eyes. That means that these words are always on our foreground, on our thoughts, that they are there. So we covered that people are hyper literalizing this, and they're only doing it once in a while because it's not always on them. It's supposed to always be on you. They are bound as a sign on your hand. These words, tell me in the scriptures, when are we supposed to take his commandments and just throw them away and not have them bound on our hand? When? Show me in the scriptures. Incorrect. We are supposed to pray without ceasing, that from the moment that we wake up, in fact, that's in the Shema later on, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, right here, Deuteronomy 6:7, you shall impress them upon your children. It does not mean put a book and press it upon their children. It means that we need to instill it in them. That, let me switch over here. It means that we need to instill it and teach it upon them, impress them, to make an indentation, a permanent mark in their life. These words shall make a permanent indentation. It does not mean to push a book upon someone. No group is doing that right now, but I'm saying that there is a group that's hyper-literalizing one thing, and then they're not hyper-literalizing another thing. It's hypocrisy is what it is. It's silliness. They're turning our Father's commandments into empty traditions of man and grandiose looking things that really are teaching a distractionary tactic. Then what is it here? We speak of them when we sit in our house and when you walk by the way and when you lie down, when you rise up. That means when you lie down and rise up, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, these words on your mouth. From whether you're in your own house or you're walking out of your house, by the way, these words on your mouth. That's what it's teaching. It doesn't mean that you need to do a mantra every time you sit in your house and do a mantra when you walk by the way and do the same mantra while you're lying down and while you rise up. And the mantra says and the mantra does, and that's what makes us holy. Oh, craziness. It's craziness. Nutso stuff, okay? So then we covered here in 6:6 that the word shall be in your heart. We don't put little cartouches, little mezuzahs inside our heart. But they do. What else do? They take they do take them and write them on doorposts and on gates. Okay, listen, you want to write it on a doorpost and a gate? Go ahead, do it. I think it's awesome. Put it on your car. Put the stuff on your get patches embroidered. Get all sorts of things done. That's an awesome thing to do. But what is the scripture actually saying? Put it on your mind gate, your mouth gate, your ear gates, your eyes gate, your nose gate, right? Put it on the gates and the doorposts of your body, of your temple, and that these words are at the extremity of your household, and that this is what is like your guard. He's your foreguard, your rear guard. He is there. That's what it's saying. And it doesn't say to roll up the living word in a cartouche, which means sarcophagus, in a dead coffin, in a mezuzah, and angle it a certain way and put it on a specific doorpost with a certain mantra that it needs to be done because that's what the word doesn't say. Doesn't say that anywhere. This kind of stuff makes me a little bit irritated, if you can't tell. I don't like liars, and I don't like people pretending to be holy and teaching people holy things when it's just hypocrisy teachings of man. Okay, someone says, oh, you don't need to defend Yahuwah. You don't need to defend the Lord. Incorrect. What did David say to Goliath when Goliath said a bunch of bad stuff about Yahuwah? He rose up to the challenge, and he challenged that demon head on and then took his head, man. We're in spiritual battle here. Okay, so I'll calm down, though, because that stuff ticks me off. I don't like liars, all right? I don't like hypocrites. That's late-stage liar. Let's get into where else we were at. Then we covered, by their fruits you shall know them, right? That a wicked tree can't produce good fruit, and a good tree can't produce wicked fruit. And this is what we connected in with the rest of the Shema. Then what we did is we connected into the first four commandments, and I synopsized them here. Is that a word? Synopsize? I did a synopsis of that here, and then I took the three lists that we made, four of each list. We have list 1, list 2, list 3. And then I went and took the first of each of the list, and then I took the second of each of the list, and then the third of each of the list, and then the fourth of each of the list, and we saw how all that amazingly connected. And then we went into the first commandment characteristics, and we went into the second commandment characteristics. So now we're going to pick up in the third commandment characteristics. So the third commandment, this is the one I'm really excited to share. A lot of people don't understand what the third commandment is. It's a lot deeper than what you think. The mark of the beast on your forehead, remember, let me find that where that was at, the third one here. If you did not receive his beast mark on your forehead, remember there's those who didn't worship the beast, the image, have the mark on the forehead or on the hand. So we're on the third characteristic, so we're going to do the one that's the mark of the beast on the hand. We have heart, soul, mind, strength, so we're going to use the mind. And then we have the third commandment, don't take his name in vain. And then we're going to connect those pieces there. Didn't receive the beast mark on the forehead because we follow the third commandment, because we shall not take the name of Yahuwah your Elohim in vain, the Lord our God in vain. Therefore you love Yahuwah with all your mind. Beast mark on the forehead. Deuteronomy 6:8, bound around your hand and frontlets between your eyes, your forehead, your mind, your thoughts. It's all connected. The Shema is connected with the antidote to the mark of the beast. The first and greatest commandment is the antidote to the mark of the beast. The positive aspects of not having them, Revelation 20 verse 4, is the antidote of not having the beast mark. And it's all connected with what? First and greatest commandment, first 4 of the 10 commandments. So we have here, don't take his name in vain, and we're going to look, where is the Father's name supposed to be? Where's it at? And we love him with all our mind. Interesting how that it just happens to coincidentally connect like that, right? And so the beast, the mark of the beast on the forehead represents your mind, or not having the mark of the beast on your forehead represents your mind. It is your thoughts. Are they of Satan? By their fruits you shall know them. Are they of Yahuwah, of Yah? Is a mark on your forehead good or bad? Well, I'm not going to have no mark on my forehead, right? Nope. Incorrect. Ezekiel 9:4-6. And Yahuwah, the Lord, said to him, pass on into the midst of the city, into the midst of Jerusalem, and you shall put a mark on the foreheads. Do we want this mark on our foreheads? You shall put a mark on the foreheads of the men who sigh and cry over all the abominations that are done within it. Well, that doesn't sound bad. Those who are sighing and crying over abominations, we should be lamenting over abominations done in this world. And to the others, he said in my hearing, pass on into the city after him and strike. Do not let your eye pardon nor spare. Kill to destruction old, young men, maidens, and children and women, but do not come near anyone upon whom is the mark. And begin at my holy place, my set apart place, my kadosh place. So they began with the elders who were in front of the house. That's the temple there. Wait a second. I think we want that mark on our forehead. That's a mark of protection. And who got that mark of protection? Verse 4, and Yahuwah said to him, and the Lord said to him, that's the Lord's mark. That's Yahuwah's mark. That goes where? Put a mark on their foreheads. Why? Because their mind is lamenting, sighing, and crying over abominations. Abominations, and we're going to get into this in Babylon the Great teaching. Spoiler alert, the word abomination is a synonym for false god worship. And you can see that in your own, in chiastic poetry, 1 Kings 11, verses 5 and 7. I'm not going to give you any more than that. That's your clue. You can figure it out on your own if you want to study it. And then we'll get into the teaching later on. So the mark on the forehead of people that sighing and crying over all the abominations, the mark on the forehead of the men who sigh and cry over all the false god worship that are done within it. That's what that verse is saying. And so, yes, we should sigh and cry over false god worship. Why did he put a mark of protection on their foreheads? Because that's a characteristic of those who love Yahuwah with all their mind. Third commandment. Third aspect of the first and greatest commandment. Revelation 3:12, he who overcomes, that's code word for Israel, by the way. Yasharal. That's let me think where that's at. That is in Genesis chapter 32, verse 28, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check that out real quick. Genesis verses chapter 32, verse 28. Yep. It says, and then he said, your name shall no longer be called, I'm going to use English here, Jacob, Yaquab, but Yasharal, Israel. for you have striven with God, or overcome with God, overcome with El, and with men, and have prevailed. So Israel, because a lot of times when you, like Genesis 11:9, we get the word Babel, and why it was a tower called Babel, because from there the Lord, from there Yahuwah scattered and confused the language. So Babel means to scatter and to confuse, because they give the definition in the same verse, or usually in the same verses, somewhere in the vicinity. A lot of times it's in the same verse. Here in Genesis 3:32-28, the name Jacob is now changed to Israel, because Israel means to overcome with God. Israel, El is God, Elohim, Elohim. And so Yasharal is Israel, to overcome. So here in Revelation 3:12, he who overcomes, ding, 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 he who is of Israel, he who is of Yasharal, code word right there. That's called an idiom. I shall make him a supporting post in the temple of my Elohim. So this is the Messiah talking, and he's talking about his God, of my God, and he shall by no means go out, and I shall write on him the name of my God, of my Elohim, and the name of the city of my Elohim, of my God, the renewed Yerushalayim, New Jerusalem, which comes down out of Hashamayim, the heaven, from my Elohim, from my God, and my renewed name, and my new name. So he's saying what? That I shall write on him the name of my Elohim. Write on him where, though? We'll find out in a second. So in Revelation 7:3, saying, do not harm the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our Elohim, of our God, upon their foreheads. Oh man, it's on the foreheads. There's a seal on the forehead. The seal of our Elohim on the forehead. But here it says that the name's going to be on the forehead, and then here it says that the seal is on the. Well, it doesn't say forehead. Sorry. Here it says that the name. He's going to write the name, but then here we see that there's a seal on the forehead. I wonder if there is another connection. And then that's yes, it is talking about the 144,000 here. So that is a select group of people, but we'll cover that in the 144,000 teaching. But now here in Revelation 9:4, and it was said to them, this is, remember, 9:1 and 2, is when a malach, an angel, falls from heaven with the keys to the pit of the deep, opens it up, and then a bunch of bad guys come out. Hell on earth, if you will. And it was said to them that they shall not harm the grass of the earth, or any green matter, or any tree, but only those men who do not have the seal of Elohim whereat upon their foreheads. So now the seal's on the forehead again. And this is everybody, not just 144,000. Revelation 14:1 and 2. And I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and having with him 144,000, having his father's name, his character, his authority written upon their foreheads. So now the name is on the forehead. The seal is on the forehead. And I heard a voice out of heaven like the voice of many waters. And we covered that in episode 1 of the many waters. We're all in Achad. We are single drops of water in a body of water. And we're all speaking as one solid voice to those that have been refined. All of us. And that's what we're all working on, I hope. Revelation 22:4. And they shall see his face. Now, this is everybody. This is Revelation 20 at the very end. White throne judgment, even Sheol and Hades thrown into Gehenna, the second death, to which there is no return. Then, Revelation 21, verse 3, we see New Jerusalem, New Yerushalayim coming down, and a new Eretz, new Shamayim, new heavens, new earth, new heavens. Well, Eretz, earth, Shamayim, heaven. Now, Revelation 22, in New Jerusalem, Satan's done. He's gone. Bye. Bye, Felicia. And they shall see his face, and his name shall be upon their foreheads. That's everybody. Not just 144,000 have the Father's name upon their foreheads. So these scriptures show us that the people of Yahuwah, the people of the Lord, of Adonai, the people of Hashem, the people of Elohim, they carry his name, his mark on their foreheads. just as Satan's people carry his beastly name or mark on their foreheads in Revelation 13:16 and 14:9. So the third commandment in Ezekiel 9:4, the people of Yahuwah sigh and cry over all the abominations that are done within. So how can one even know what abomination is without being shown through Torah, law? Romans 5:13, for until the Torah, the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not reckoned when there is no law. So sin's there, whether you recognize it or not, is what he's saying. And the law was a mechanism to be able to capture sin. But then we had to get freed from the law of sin and death. And this is what our redemption, our Redeemer, our Messiah comes. But by no means does that mean that the definition of sin has changed. Sin is defined by law. Reckoned, imputed, attributed are all synonyms from other translations, but its meaning is that sin was there, whether you see it or not, but only through the Torah can one recognize abominations. Remember, they're sighing and crying over the abominations done within the land. Well, I mean, you can just say the word, that's an abomination. But if you have no meaning behind it, I can say a word, well, that means flim-flam. But you don't know what that word means, so it's meaningless. Abomination is meaningless unless it has a definition. The Torah, the law, is the knowledge and understanding, the da'eth in the binah, which produce chokmah, wisdom, that we have in our yatsar, our mind. In other words, having the mark or sign of Yahuwah in our forehead or on our forehead means that having his Torah and his ways within us as a sign to him is a mindset, a mark of who we serve. So what does taking the name of Yahuwah in vain mean? Well, the Hebrew word for name is H Hebrew, Strong's number 8034, Shem. Noah was very original. He named his son name, right? But more importantly, he named his son character and authority. And we know where that character and authority is in Genesis chapter 9. Who has that character and authority? Well, he says in Genesis 9:26, he also said, blessed be the Lord, blessed be Yahuwah, the Elohim of Shem, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. So now Shem's name and authority is connected with Yahuwah, is connected with the Lord. Okay, so Noah named his son Shem, character, authority. So it can mean a noun, but it can mean, the character and authority. So the Hebrew word for vain, H7723, Strong's numbers here, Shah, or Sha'ua. And it can also mean deceit, deception, emptiness, false visions, falsehood, lies, and or worthless. Taking the name of Yahuwah in vain means not knowing his character because of empty false visions of worthless lies and deceit. So let's do that again. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. You can say, don't take the Lord's character and authority in vanity due to empty false visions of worthless lies and deceit. So the meat of the matter, well, the milk of the matter is OMG, right? Or using a title, or using OGD it or OJC, or you can understand what I'm talking about. Is using his name in a frivolous way. I'm not saying that you can't say OMG and you can't say JC or you can't whatever. I'm just saying to use it in a frivolous way as though it's just another. That's milk. Meat is that you're taking his character and authority in vain due to false visions. That's connected with false religion, of worthlessness, of lies, connected with false religion. Are you in idolatry? Because you can see the first four commandments you can separate them, but they're very holistic. it's really tough to just break only one. Now, the fourth commandment, you can probably, but the first three, it's really tough only to just break one. Typically, you're breaking all three. You're picking and choosing what Elohim, what God you are wanting to worship. So you've created a false God for you to, even within the scriptures, you're picking and choosing what his image is. You're picking and choosing what his character is. You're really breaking all three commandments. The first, the second, and the third commandment. It's really tough to just break just the third commandment and then still also be worshiping the proper Elohim, the proper God, and also not be in idolatry at the same time. Usually all three are together. I can't even right now wrap my mind around only breaking one and not having the other two. It would take a special talent just to only break one. And why would you want to break why would you want to break a commandment? Especially those top three there, especially the top four, because it's part of the first and greatest commandment. So you learn his character by study and having proper heart-mind condition through his Torah. You can know the proper pronunciation of Yahuwah or Yahweh or Yehovah or Jehovah. You can pronunciate his name properly all you want. But if you don't understand his authority, his character, it's vanity. Say you know him all you want, but you actually don't know his character, you're taking his name in vain. Interesting. That's how the fourth commandment connects into it. So it's not name pronunciation, but character misrepresentation. They usually go hand in hand, faithful in small things, faithful in big things. If you love him with all your yatsar, with all your mind, then you understand his Shem, his character, and the proper noun, which is Yahuwah, whatever pronunciation that you so choose, will be on or in, remember the Greek word epi from episode 2, on or in your forehead. Therefore, you won't have the mark of the beast on your forehead. Why? Because the Father's name, Revelation 22:5, is on your forehead. Sighing, crying over all the abominations done within the land is on your forehead. That mark of protection of the Father on your forehead. Revelation 3:12, that his name is written, that he writes his name on you on the forehead. So if you don't have the beast mark on the forehead, it's because you have the Father's mark on the forehead. In fact, if you don't have the Father's mark on the forehead, you automatically have the beast mark on the forehead. Revelation 17:8, it says that everybody worships him that does not have their name written in the book of life of the slain lamb, written from the foundation of the world. That's in the very middle of verse 8. It's also in Revelation 13 also. I forget the precise location. It's probably 13:8 or something like that. That those worship the beast unless they have the written in the book of life of the slain lamb. So that's the connection with the third commandment, is that we do want a mark on our forehead. Just make sure it's the Father's mark. The Father's character should be on our forehead. That comes with study. That has to do with the mind. So you love him with all your heart, soul, mind. There's the third one. Didn't have the mark of the beast on the forehead. Well, there's that third one. And then don't take his name in vain. His name on your forehead. See how it connects? The mark of the beast is specifically targeting the first four of the 10 commandments and the first and greatest commandment. This is my thesis. I told you from the beginning. The fourth commandment. This is also another very interesting one. So I think a little bit of explanation is needed here, more than just the Shabbat. Right? People say Sabbath. People say Shabbat. I find it's shin, bet, ta. So it's a sh, it's a b and a th, and then you put the vowel points in there. Regardless, we know what we're talking about, the Sabbath. Okay, so I'll try to put the whole thing into focus. Two main scriptures to remember as we go into the following material. Malachi 3:6a, for I am Yahuwah, I am the Lord, I shall not change, period. Actually, it's an ellipsis, but the Greco-Roman mind is linear and the Hebraic mind is cyclical. Together, both are correct. But when apart, both are wrong. We are moving in a straight line, but we are also in an orbital cycle through time. History never repeats, but history is always repeating. It's one of those weird paradoxical, things. By that, I imply the details are always different, but the patterns are the same. Nothing new under the sun. I think that's probably in the next slide. There are multiple rings of the orbit, which means that there are larger and smaller patterns of the same type of orbit. I hope I get into this because I like this. Good. I'm glad I put that in here. Ezekiel 28 is a good example of this. Verses 1 through 12 talks about an earthly king of Tyre or Tsar, which is where you get the Russian word Tsar from. Anyways, in the Kaiser, and you get the word Caesar from Tsar, the king of Tyre, when you translate it properly. In verses 13 through 19 of Ezekiel 28, talk about Satan being in the same type of pattern as the king. Verse 12 is the key here. Now, in the King James, it says, thou sealest up the sum. In ISR, it says, you were sealing up a pattern. I like both those verses. If I were just to be stuck on one Bible translation, one scripture translation, I wouldn't see two. And I like both of them. Because ultimately, neither one of those are truly correct because only the Hebrew understanding is correct. We don't need to go into the Hebrew version right there, but they are good windows into the fullness of what that verse says. And so we have sealing up the sum or sealest up the sum or sealing a pattern, meaning, as he's talking here, that the king of Tyre, the king of Tsar, was in the same pattern as Satan, but a smaller one. And so he completed his full cycle. And now he's Dunyans, right? But Satan's not. Satan's pattern's bigger. But so now, faithful in small things, faithful in big things. And so now Satan's pattern is now sealed because Tyre, the king of Tyre, king of Tsar, has the same pattern as Satan. And that's what the verse is saying. On a black and white checkered quilt, there is only supposed to be either black or white squares. Yes, each black square and each white square is unique to itself, but they are either black or white and categorized as such. If a pink square is found, the disconnected Greco-Roman mind says, look, it's evolution, a new thing. The Hebraic mind says pink square says, it's a flaw. Pattern dictates only black or white. Now, if the pattern dictates something else, then the pattern dictates something else. And yes, black and white, it's definitely Masonic. We can get it down on that, that rabbi trail or something like that, but we don't need to go, deep. It's just a parallel I'm trying to point here. Without the other half, the concrete truth, the Greco-Roman mind sinks into delusion. Yes, it is all relative in theory, but Yahuwah tethers the Hebraic mind and gives us a foundation rooted in logic, reason, and structure. Creation's not a chaotic blob. His creations reflect his law and order. The holistic Hebraic mind, which understands the truth of the linear Greco-Roman mind, studies patterns, knows his way, his truth, and his life to figure out whether something's good or evil, clean or unclean, summer or winter. Genesis 2:2, and in the seventh day, Elohim, God, completed his work which he had done, and he rested. See, it's a little illuminated there. Rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Now they say that the Shabbat was given to Moses at Mount Sinai, and that's when the Shabbat was first established. Genesis 2:2 blows that apart. Look at the word rest. And he rested on the seventh day. That word rest, guess what it is there? Shin, Beth, Tha. S-H-B-T-H. Shabbath. Sabbath. So he says that he Sabbath on the seventh day. That's what it says. So there it is in Genesis 2:2. He says that he does not change, remember? So speak to the children of Yasharal, of Israel, Exodus 31:13, saying, my Shabbaths, my Sabbaths, you are to guard by all means, for it is a sign, an oath, between me and you throughout your generations, to know that I, Yahuwah, I, the Lord, am setting you apart. That's what holy, I am making you holy, is what he's saying. So the Sabbaths are a sign. Exodus 31, a little later on now, 16 and 17, and the children of Yasharal, of Israel, shall guard the Shabbat. That means that you got to guard it. Why? Because, you got to guard things that are precious. To perform the Shabbat throughout their generations as an everlasting covenant. When do you think the everlasting covenant is going to stop? Well, read the second and the third to last verse in the last chapter of Isaiah, 66:22 through 23. You tell me when the everlasting covenant stops. Between me and the children of Yasharal, continuing the reading, between me and the children of Yasharal, it is a sign forever. How long's forever? Forever is forever. For 6 days, Yahuwah made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. So the Sabbath, because remember, we're talking about the fourth aspect, mark of the beast on the hand, love him with all their strength, and now the fourth commandment. He was rested and refreshed. In Exodus 20, verses 8, he says, remember the Sabbath day. The word for remember, Strong's number H2142, zakar. A primitive root properly to mark, that is, to remember, to mention. So the Shabbat is a mark, his mark. Zakar, Shabbat, mark the Sabbath. In Exodus 31:13 and 17, the word we covered earlier, the word that says is a sign, Strong's H22, 226, oath or auth. And it means a signal, a flag, a beacon, a monument, an omen, prodigy, evidence, or a mark, a sign, a token. So that means that the Sabbath is a mark of his people, and that we are to mark the Sabbath on our, Zakar Shabbat, that we are to mark the Sabbath and to keep it holy, to keep it set apart, to guard it. Is it a coincidence that the Shabbat is called a sign or a mark, which relates to our 6 days of labor and one of rest, and the beast is a sign on the wicked one's hand, the beast mark? Remember, to love Yahuwah with all your strength relates to Shabbat, Sabbath. Your hand represents actions and strength. Remember, Deuteronomy 6:8. To bind, wrap it around your hand, bind it around your hand as a sign, as an oath, as a mark. That means that these words which I'm commanding you today, Deuteronomy 6:6, are to be wrapped, now verse 8, are to be wrapped as a sign around your hand. A mark on your hand. These words are a mark on your hand and as frontlets between your eyes. But and then to love him with all your strength, which is verse 5, Deuteronomy 6:5, and then 6 and then 8. These are all in the very same area, location. The Shema is the antidote to the mark of the beast. Your hand represents your strength in actions. Therefore, those with the beast mark honor the beast with actions not of Yahuwah. An everlasting covenant is perpetual. Isaiah 66, 22 and 23 connect with Revelation 21:3. New heavens and new earth. The Shabbat is still there in the new creation. An everlasting covenant. It's a sign forever. It's forever. Why does Yahuwah call them my Shabbats? He doesn't say it's man's. Yes, the Sabbath was created for man, not man for the Sabbath. Yes, he is the master of the Sabbath. Yes. That means that he knows exactly how it functions. He wasn't telling them, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath, so that's why the Sabbath is done away with. He's saying, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath. Don't tell me how to work on or how this day functions. I know how this day functions. I'm the master of it. I created it, is what our Adonai Yahushua says. Our Lord Jesus says. The pattern, Malachi 3:6a, that he doesn't change. Genesis 2:2, the Sabbath, he rested on the seventh day. We are to follow and model ourselves. Where is it? Galatians chapter 5:1, I think. Nope, it's not. Can't win them all. So maybe it was Ephesians 5:1. Let me get one more time. Yeah, okay, it is. Become then imitators of Elohim as beloved children. We need to imitate God. Become them imitators of God as beloved children. How do you imitate him? Well, Genesis 2:2, the Sabbath is part of our imitation of him resting, and we rest on that day. So we covered this. Let me just kind of briefly look at this here. Yeah. So is it a coincidence again that it is a sign on your hand, and that the beast mark is on the hand and on the forehead, and that in Deuteronomy 6 and 8 that these words are to be bound as a sign on your hand as frontlets between your eyes, and the beast mark is on the frontlets of their eyes and on their hand? Nope. It's not. It's a connection. The beast mark is the opposite of the Shema of Deuteronomy 6. Deuteronomy 11:18, you shall lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and bind them as a sign on your hand, an oath on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. There it is again. Look, there it is again. The same 4 points. Look at that. Look at right there, Deuteronomy 11:18. He says heart, soul, and then he says hand and frontlets between your eyes. So your strength and your forehead. There it is. There heart, soul, strength, and mind. There it is. That's the first and greatest commandment characteristics, to love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Yahuwah says to keep his words as a sign on our hand and on our frontlets and on our forehead. He wants us to have our thoughts and actions to be marks of him, as though we are ambassadors for him. We are supposed to. So, not this. That's not what that's talking about. Wrong answer. That's not what that is. Sorry. That's false. False. Ezekiel 20:12. And I also gave them my Shabbaths to be a sign between them and me, to know that I am Yahuwah who sets them apart. He gave them the Sabbath to be an oath, a mark between us and him, so that he knows who his children are. 6 days we are to labor, actions and strength of our hands, and we rest on the Shabbat, actions and strength of our hands, to relax. These actions and strength of our hands are signs on our hands. So here in Ezekiel 20:20 and 21, and set apart my Shabbats, and they shall be as a sign between me and you, to know that I am Yahuwah your Elohim, the Lord your God. But the children rebelled against me. They rebelled against the Sabbath in the Old Testament. No new patterns under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1, is it 6 or 9? I logged that wrong in my memory once, and then I always got to go double check it. 9, what has been done. So what has been is what shall be, and what has been done is what shall be done. And there is no new matter under the sun. What cyclical pattern is happening here in Ezekiel 20:20 and 21 is that they're rejecting the Sabbath in the Old Testament. And now they're doing it today. But they got a whole new set of excuses, same bag of satanic tricks. No. Well, we have new excuses why it's okay to get rid of the Sabbath today. Then they had the old excuses. Those old excuses were wrong, but our new excuses are correct, says a liar, someone who is deceived. They didn't walk in his laws and my right rulings. They did not guard to do them, which if a man does, he shall live by them. They profaned my Shabbats, so I resolved to pour out my wrath on them to complete my displeasure against them in the wilderness. Abomination of desolation. She gets the cup of his wrath poured out undiluted. That's what it says in Revelation 14, 9 through 11, verse 10 and 11. It says that they get that cup poured out of his wrath undiluted. And now here we see it in Ezekiel 20:21. That has connected with the Sabbath and the mark of the beast. It's all connected. Man, woe to those people that are still in idolatry. Revelation 13, but we are not saved by works. Revelation 13, 16, and 17, but that does not give you an excuse to do wrong works once you've been given the truth. In fact, that's what causes judgment and condemnation. But that's not for me to put on somebody. The Father is working with all of us with loving care, and some love is tough, some is soft. Revelation 13, 16, and 17, and he causes all, both small and great, and rich and poor, and free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads, and that no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. It's a question that we should already be able to answer. Can we buy or sell on the Shabbat? Is buying or selling a fruit, right, a work done by our hands? Is the Shabbat something that is comprehended within our mind? Mm-hmm. Our works are not, are our works not physical markings? Are they not reflections of the mark that is upon our foreheads, the seal that is in our mind? So regarding that seal, we can get into in a minute. let's just look at this real quick. Do we buy or sell on the Sabbath? Do we? Nope. Read Nehemiah chapter 8. Nope, we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to be buying or selling on that day. It is a day that is a set apart day. And what set apart, you have 100 pennies. You find that one penny that's of value, a buffalo, what do they call that? A wheat penny, let's call it a wheat penny. I almost said a buffalo nickel, but a wheat penny. And you find a wheat penny in a pile of pennies. Well, that penny's worth something. Everything else, barely even worth the stamp it's on. Well, actually, I think it's worth more, right? But inflation, right? Do we buy or sell on that day? 6 days you labor, 1 year rest, the beast mark on your hand. Those who did not have the beast mark on their hand, they had these words which I'm commanding you today, bound as a sign on their hand and frontlets between their eyes. So 6 days they labor and 1 they rest. So they love him with all their heart, soul, mind, strength. And it's because they Zakar Shabbat, they mark the Sabbath, because the Sabbath is a mark on their hands, because they love him with all their strength. So what is the beast mark? And why is the beast mark connected with buying or selling? Interesting. Regarding the seal. Now let's take a look at the seal. Let me see. I think I'm going to close it here. We're a little earlier than an hour, but the information that I have in the next teaching, it's gonna we'll wrap it up in the next one, and then we'll do a synopsis in the last one here. And the last one will be a short one. Instead of having one long, we'll have one a little bit short and then one shorter. So we're gonna cover things up here. We'll go ahead and close things off here. So as you know, got our jar of pearls. So we're gonna look at this is our section here, that we don't want to do what? We don't want to cast pearls before swine. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna look for a real small one here. Sometimes the small ones are the expensive ones, right? Real small pearl here. We know that we take a scripture verse that we're gonna look at. We're gonna look at Hebrews 4:9. Let me go there here. If you just give me a moment. You guys want to go to the beach with me? I want to go to the beach. Let's go to the beach, huh? All right, let's find Hebrews 4:9. What do we see here? So there remains a Sabbath keeping for the people of Elohim. There remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at what that says in its fullness. Now look at what the King James says here. Remember I said there's some issues with translations? Look at the King James down here. This is King James. Therefore, let us fear lest sorry, I didn't click on it. That doesn't sound right. Here we go. There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. Well, it just says rest here in King James. So that doesn't say Sabbath. ISR, you made that up. Where do you get Sabbath keeping? ISR, are you lying to me? Well, what does it say in the Greek interlinear here? Oh my goodness. G4520. Look at that little pearl. Sabbatismos. It is specifically a Sabbath rest, a keeping Sabbath is what that is. That is keeping the Sabbath. So someone's lying to us. Someone lying to us. Which is it? Is it the translation that just has the word rest there? Or is the little pearl that we have when we go and dig deep into where that is and go and find that precious object, that it is not the word rest there. It is the word Sabbath rest. And how can you deny something that's as verbatim as that? On top of the whole complicated but simple mark of the beast teaching. Look at how the Sabbath is connected with the mark of the beast, with those who are breaking it. In Hebrews 4:9, something simple, a simple little pearl. So there remains a Sabbath keeping or a Sabbath rest for the people of God, for the people of Elohim. There remains. But they're always going to make excuses on that, aren't they? Why? Why are they going to make excuses on that? Because you might not want to cast pearls before swine. So that's all that we have for today. Just remember, guard your heart, guard your soul, guard Torah, or pay the toll.